The unemployment rate in the United States is now at a staggering 14.7%, with 20 million jobs lost in the month of April alone. So this new report by the Labor Department indicates that the jobless numbers shatter the post-World War II record of an unemployment rate of 10.8%. To give you some more stats from this devastating report, the number of unemployed Americans was listed at 23.1 million. The number of people who usually work full-time dropped by 15 million over the month of April, and the number who usually work part-time declined by 7.4 million. Now, the White House Council of Economic Advisors attempted to downplay the report, tweeting the following: while April's jobs numbers may astound Americans, the strong economy earlier this year put us in a better position to make temporary economic sacrifices to slow COVID-19 spread. After all, the unemployment rate stood at a 50-year low of 3.5% only 2 months ago. Now, the Council of Economic Advisors under the Trump administration has a clear incentive to downplay the devastation in the economy, and so does Donald Trump, which is what he's about to do in this next video.
The numbers are terrible.
No, it's
but
fully
we know
expected.
why.
Yeah, it's fully expected. There's no surprise. Everybody knows that. Somebody said, oh, look at this. Well, even the Democrats aren't blaming me for that.
Even the Democrats aren't blaming me for that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's two components to that. Number one, when did the Democrats ever fight you effectively? Ever. And again, the kiss asses of, establishment Washington, when they saw that quote, they were like, huh, can you believe he lied about that? The Democrats have been holding him accountable so well. Really? I mean, we live on different planets, man. We all do. But the more relevant part here, of course, is the numbers are horrific. Somebody made a great point on social media. I'm sorry that I don't remember their name, but they said, we were doing great 2 months ago, and now we have the worst numbers in American history. It's like saying the Titanic was doing great 2 hours ago. We were cruising along in the ocean without a problem in the world. I mean, now we're at the bottom of the ocean, but 2 hours ago, we were doing great.
It is pretty incredible. So in the same interview, Trump had some thoughts about what we need to do in order to get the economy back in shape. Let's take a look.
But what I can do is I'll bring it back. Look, I created with a lot of great people and with the country, because our country's warriors, and now maybe more than ever, because they're going back to work and they're warriors. We created the greatest economy in the history of the world, best we've ever had, best employment numbers, best stock markets, best number of jobs in every way. The best economy in the history of the world, the strongest economy we've ever had, and we had to close it, which is artificial. We artificially closed it. Those jobs will all be back, and they'll be back very soon. And next year, we're going to have a phenomenal year. People are ready to go.
So it's no surprise that he's starting to urge the economy to open back up. There have been a number of states, 17 specifically, that have prematurely opened their economies back up. And we're now seeing a spike in the number of corona cases in those states. So it's not the right way to handle it for both the economy and for human lives, because if you continuously see this spike in coronavirus cases, then it's going to drag these stay-at-home orders longer than they need to be in other parts of the country. Like it's counterproductive. It makes no sense. But I also want to we've done this a million times, but okay, I'll do it again in the context of this story. Even before COVID-19, the economy was a house of cards. We know that because the stock market took a massive dip because of oil prices going down, right? There was initially an overproduction of oil, and all of a sudden you see that impacting the stock market, which is the only thing that Trump likes to look at when analyzing whether or not the economy is doing well or if it's not doing well. He would be boastful about the jobs numbers, and he'd say that, we have record low unemployment, but he wouldn't take into account the fact that there were a ton of Americans who were working multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet. The gig economy had expanded, and the economy for the average American was so terrible that nearly half of all Americans couldn't even afford a $400 emergency, which is why when the economy did shut down in response to COVID-19, so many people were unable to pay their rent. So many people were able to pay their utilities. And that's why Congress needed to come in and provide some financial relief, which wasn't nearly enough. But the economy was not actually doing well. And if all you care about is the stock market, think about the fact that the stock market plummeted immediately because those share prices are based on nothing. They're artificially inflated because all these companies took their Trump tax cuts and they bought their own stocks, right? Shares of their own stock. And that's not a good economy. It's just not. And no journalist will, punch him back with the facts of this. Like, they just don't. They just accept that the economy was doing great. It clearly wasn't.
So when you have a bubble, when it bursts badly. And so that's exactly what happened here. And so the amount that it went down was because of the artificial inflation through stock buybacks and other matters. Now we have another problem, which is what Warren Buffett is talking about now. He's like, look, the Fed acted quickly and boldly, they all say in the finance world. But he sounded a very important warning when he said, the Fed has now taken significant risk, and no one really knows what happens if that goes wrong. And that's absolutely true. I've talked to countless people who've written books about the Fed, who are experts on the Fed, who worked at the top levels in finance. And the Fed is now not just buying Treasury, not just buying safe assets, they're buying corporate bonds that are high risk. So what happens if those go wrong? No one knows. So if the Fed has some sort of cataclysmic event, we're all screwed. And why are they doing this? Partly to shore up the economy, but also partly because Trump is running out of time and he's putting a world of pressure on them. The election's in November, and all he ever does is hype. But a lot of those jobs will come back if we can get out, hopefully in a couple of months, but a lot of them won't. And so he needs to pretend, he needs the Fed and everything else to artificially inflate before November. Because at the end of the day, when people go to vote, Trump can say, oh, everything's going to be great, leading up to the election. But on the day of the election, if things are not great, he is going to lose. So that's why they're taking tremendous risk with the economy by trying to overinflate now and by going too quickly now to reopen. So Trump is pushing you out the door to reopen, but as soon as someone in the White House gets coronavirus, he's in a stone cold panic because he will not do likewise. If you ask him to do the things that he's asking you to do, he wouldn't do it in a million years. He's playing with your life so that he can protect his career.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.